Every empire believes it is the only one watching the board. For decades, one Sith Lord had built his entire plan on that belief. A plan built from shadows, from patience, from a war he started on both sides just so he could end it on his own terms. He called it the Grand Plan. He called himself, in private, the only Sith the galaxy needed to fear. He was wrong, because somewhere beyond the reach of his spies, beneath the notice of his puppet senate, a war machine 1,000 years older than his own ambitions had already clawed its way out of the ground and found an apprentice the prophecy never mentioned. Now, in a rain-soaked office on Coruscant, that hidden Sith Lord watched the reports come in. Garrison after garrison, world after world, falling not to his war but to someone else's. And for the first time in longer than he could remember, he realized his plan was no longer the only one in motion. Sidious had spent his entire life believing in one rule above all others: patience wins wars that armies cannot. He had built the Separatist crisis with his own hands, orchestrated a Jedi Order into exhaustion, and positioned himself to inherit a galaxy no one would ever suspect him of taking. But patience only works when you are the only one playing the long game. Malgus wasn't interested in the long game. Malgus didn't need decades of manipulation, or a puppet chancellor, or a secret identity. He simply took what he wanted the moment he wanted it. And the boy at his side was doing exactly the same, one Jedi garrison at a time. Sidious could not outfight that fleet. Not yet. Not without exposing 30 years of careful lies in a single afternoon. But he understood something Malgus never would. Malgus had built a weapon. Sidious knew how to build something far more dangerous. A mind that wanted something for itself, so he didn't send an army. He sent a message. No signature, no demand, just a single question, delivered through channels even Malgus's paranoia hadn't accounted for. Sidious, your master calls you his weapon. Has he ever once called you his equal? It was the first sentence anyone had ever spoken to Anakin Skywalker that wasn't in order. For years, Anakin had been given exactly one identity: instrument. Extension of Malgus's will. A blade that didn't ask what it was for. He had never asked Malgus a question that wasn't tactical. Until now. Anakin, when the war is won, what happens to me? It should have been a simple question. Malgus had an answer for everything. Strategy, cruelty, survival. He had no answer for this. Because in Malgus's entire worldview, built from an empire that measured itself only in conquest, there had never been an after. Malgus, you keep fighting, that is what we are. It wasn't an answer, it was a deflection. And for the first time in his life, Anakin recognized it as one. He didn't confront Malgus, he didn't need to. He simply began withholding a captured Jedi's testimony here, a separatist holdout's coordinates there. Small pieces of information that once would have gone straight to his master now filed away instead, kept for reasons Anakin himself couldn't yet name. Malgus, for all his power, had never been a student of subtlety in others. He felt something shifting in his apprentice and mistook it for what he'd always hoped to see: strength, sharpening on its own. He had no idea he was watching the first betrayal of his life unfold in slow motion, in plain sight, and mistaking it for pride. While two Sith circled each other in silence, the galaxy kept burning. Entire Jedi fronts collapsed under Anakin's blade. The Council, desperate, authorized something they'd never sanctioned before: quiet contingency plans against a threat too powerful to fight in the open. A grim irony neither side would ever fully admit. The more the Jedi feared this war, the closer they crept toward the very tactics that would one day doom them in a very different timeline. It was Mace Windu who went to face Anakin directly. Not to kill him, but to see if there was anything left worth saving in whatever Malgus had built. Their duel was brutal and close and answered nothing. But before he retreated, Windu left Anakin with a single sentence that did more damage than his blade ever could. Windu, your master builds soldiers. Whoever's whispering to you in secret builds slaves. Ask yourself which one you already are. Anakin said nothing, but the question followed him back to his master's side like a shadow. Sidious couldn't defeat Malgus's fleet. He didn't need to. He needed Malgus alone. For less than 2 minutes, through carefully manipulated intelligence, fed to both sides at once, Anakin was lured to what Malgus believed was a routine strategy meeting. Instead, his oldest and only student led him directly into an ambush. For the first time in the story, Malgus understood exactly what was happening to him. And in the moment before the end, he did something he had never once done in 14 years of raising this weapon. He told the truth. I didn't take you because of destiny. I took you because the Force screamed your name across the stars, and I have never once ignored a call that strong. That is the only prophecy that ever mattered. You were never meant for anything. You simply are. It was the closest thing to an admission of worth Malgus had ever given him. It wasn't enough to save him. Sidious stepped forward to claim what he believed was now his, an apprentice freshly orphaned of his master, ready to be reshaped into something obedient. He miscalculated, because the boy standing between two Sith Lords who had each in their own way tried to own him, was not interested in trading one master for another. Anakin's blade turned on both of them. He struck Malgus down first, not from cruelty, but because Malgus, even wounded, even betrayed, remained the greater immediate threat. Their blades clashed with each other's, two titans of Force fighting each other to death. The Force itself was screaming, but Anakin, having trained his whole life with only motive to win, has surpassed Malgus, or any Sith before him. And so the battle came to an end. Malgus was defeated and killed by his own weapon, but before he died he smiled, for he knew that his weapon was now unstoppable. Palpatine, having witnessed that fight, understood something terrifying, that he was no match for Anakin at all, so he turned his focus towards getting out of there alive. Sidious escaped with his life. Barely. His Sith apprentice recruits did not. And then Anakin screamed that sent a ripple through the Force so powerful that every Force sensitive felt it. The Force itself screamed, afraid of Anakin, and what he was about to do to the galaxy. If you want a part 3 of this series, then like and subscribe to my channel.